That turns ordinary pocket change into extraordinary fortunes. Let me ask you a question. Have you ever fished a penny out from under your couch cushion, only to toss it aside because, well, it's just a penny? Well, buckle up, because that same humble little copper coin could be worth more than a beach house in Malibu. That's right, today we're talking about the 2004 Lincoln penny with no mint mark that can fetch a jaw-dropping $1.8 million. Yes, you heard that right, $1.8 million for 1 cent. I'm going to show you exactly what makes this coin special, why collectors are practically drooling over it, and how you can spot one yourself. And to top it off, I'll share a little story about the time I almost threw away a coin that could have paid for my retirement. So grab your favorite drink, kick back, and let's dig into the incredible world of valuable pennies. Alright, let's set the stage. The 2004 Lincoln penny, like billions of others, was minted by the US Mint and released into circulation. Most of them were used to buy gum, collect dust in jars, and get lost in car seats. But every once in a while, the mint makes a little oopsie. And those oopsies can become the golden ticket for collectors. Now, you might be wondering, what exactly makes this penny worth so much? It's not made of gold. It's not signed by Abraham Lincoln himself. So what gives? Let's break it down. First, let's talk about the no mint mark detail. Normally, pennies minted in Philadelphia don't have a mint mark, while those from Denver have a little d. But in 2004, some of these no mint mark pennies had extremely unusual features. The key reason this penny is worth millions comes down to two things: a rare double die error and a pristine, uncirculated condition. A double die means that during production, the coin's design was accidentally stamped twice, creating a noticeable doubling effect, especially on the date, the word liberty, or the motto, "In God We Trust." It's like the coin version of getting your school photo double exposed. Some folks call this a mint error, but collectors call it a jackpot. I'm not saying you can just pick up any old 2004 penny and expect to be rolling in dough. These valuable examples are rare, and they need to be graded by a professional to confirm their authenticity. The one that sold for $1.8 million was in perfect condition, with the error clearly visible, and it was encapsulated in a protective holder to preserve it. Let's take a closer look at what you should be hunting for. First, grab a magnifying glass. Seriously, unless your eyes are sharper than a bald eagle's, you're going to need some help spotting doubling on the letters and numbers. Look closely at the date 2004. Is there a shadow or duplicate outline? Flip the coin over and inspect the Lincoln Memorial. Though doubling usually shows on the front, sometimes there are anomalies on the reverse too. If you see these details, don't go spending that penny at the vending machine. You might be holding a fortune. Speaking of fortunes, let's talk about the current market. Just last year, a 2004 no mint mark Lincoln penny with these exact error characteristics sold at auction for $1.8 million. That's not pocket change, folks. That's the kind of money that buys you the house, the car, the boat, and still leaves enough for a lifetime supply of beef jerky. And now, let me pause here and share a little personal story. About 10 years ago, I was cleaning out an old dresser in my parents' house. You know, the kind of dresser that's basically a time capsule of every receipt, coupon, and odd coin that ever existed. I found this jar, and inside it were a bunch of old pennies. One of them was a shiny 2004 no mint mark penny. At the time, I didn't know a thing about coin collecting. So what did I do? I dumped the whole jar into a Coinstar machine at the grocery store to get some grocery money. If you listen closely, you can still hear me screaming into the void every time I think about it. Because for all I know, I might have traded $1 million penny for a handful of quarters and some stale bagels. Before you cash in your coins, take a good, hard look. Because knowledge is the difference between a sandwich and a mansion. Alright, let's keep going. I know you're probably thinking, what are the odds I actually find one? Well, the odds aren't great, but here's the thing, people do find them. Coins circulate for decades, and many collectors have struck gold, or copper, in this case, when they least expected it. The secret is to be persistent. If you're serious about it, make it a hobby. Buy yourself a coin album. Check your change every time you get it. And don't be afraid to visit coin shows or estate sales, because sometimes these treasures slip through the cracks. Let's get into grading for a moment, because this is where your payday can go from a few $100 to 7 figures. Coins are graded on a 70-point scale. The closer to a perfect 70, the higher the value. That $1 million penny was graded MS 69, which is basically as mint as you can get without being touched by the hand of God himself. Handle it carefully. No sweaty fingers or rough surfaces, put it in a protective holder. Even a soft cloth envelope is better than nothing. Take it to a reputable coin dealer or grading service. Don't trust the guy on Craigslist offering to authenticate it in the back of his van. Get an official appraisal. Only then will you know if you've really struck it rich. Let's also touch on the history a little, because it's fascinating. The Lincoln penny was introduced in 1909 to commemorate Abraham Lincoln's 100th birthday. Over the decades, billions were made. So the irony is, the most common coin in America is sometimes the rarest and the most valuable. The design on the back with the Lincoln Memorial started in 1959. Before that, it was 2 wheat stalks. In 2009, they switched to the shield design. So if you find a 2004 penny, it will still have that classic memorial reverse. One of the reasons collectors love this era. If you're still wondering if it's worth it to check every penny in your change jar, let me just say, if someone offered you a lottery ticket with a tiny chance to win $1.8 million, and all you had to do was look at it under a magnifying glass, would you turn it down? Didn't think so. Alright, folks, we've covered a lot of ground today. We talked about the humble 2004 Lincoln penny with no mint mark, the little copper coin that could make you a millionaire. You learned how to identify the doubling errors, why condition is everything, and why you should never underestimate the power of the change in your pocket. Don't be the person who cashes in a fortune for grocery money. Check those jars. Check your piggy banks. Heck, check the floorboards in your car. You never know where $1 million penny might be hiding. If you enjoyed this video and you want more tips on valuable coins, strategies to grow your collection, and stories about everyday folks striking it rich, make sure you hit that subscribe button. Tap the notification bell so you never miss an update. Drop me a comment if you've ever found a rare coin yourself. Or just say hi. I love hearing from you guys. Hey there, treasure hunters and penny pinchers alike. Let me ask you something. Have you ever looked at a humble little penny sitting in your change jar and thought, nah, it's just a penny, it can't be worth much? Well, let me tell you a story that might just change your life. Because somewhere out there, right now, someone's 1991 no mint mark Lincoln penny is sitting quietly, unbothered, completely unaware it's worth a whopping $1.9 million. Yes, you heard me right. Not $19. Not $1,900. $1.9 million. That's enough to buy your dream house, a classic car collection, and probably a lifetime supply of peanut butter pretzels if that's your thing. So today, we're diving headfirst into everything you need to know about this little copper-colored superstar. From what makes it so rare, to how you can spot one in your own collection, and why it's become one of the most sought-after pennies on the planet. Before we get rolling, grab your coin jar, your magnifying glass, and maybe your reading glasses too. Because by the end of this video, you're going to look at every penny you see like it's a potential golden ticket. Let's kick this off by understanding what exactly we mean by a 1991 no mint mark Lincoln penny. Most pennies minted in Philadelphia don't carry a mint mark. So you might think, wait, how is that rare? Isn't that almost every penny? Well, here's where it gets juicy. The specific 1991 no mint mark Lincoln penny we're talking about isn't just a regular Philadelphia issue. This particular coin has what collectors call a unique strike anomaly and remarkable die characteristics that set it apart from its billions of boring cousins. Picture this. One day, some sleepy mint employee fires up the presses and accidentally creates a flawless, fully struck, absolutely pristine 1991 penny. The surfaces are perfect. The edges are razor sharp. There are no distracting scratches, no bag marks, no flecks of gunk stuck to the coin like old gum on a shoe, and as the icing on the cake, this specimen was preserved in nearly perfect condition for decades. A collector eventually submitted it for grading, and it came back MS-70, the highest grade possible. That, my friends, is what transformed this humble penny into a $1 million legend. First, condition. Coins are graded on a 70-point scale. Most coins rattling around in your pocket are lucky to score a 10 or 20. If you've got something above 60, you're talking about a coin that looks basically brand new. An MS-70 is the unicorn, a coin so flawless you almost don't want to touch it. Second, rarity. Sure, billions of 1991 pennies were minted. But only a microscopic fraction survived in perfect condition. Third, demand. Coin collectors are a passionate bunch. Some folks are willing to drop seven figures to own the ultimate piece of American currency history. So if you're sifting through your old pennies and you see a 1991 with no mint mark, don't shrug it off. Take a closer look. Let me tell you a little personal story. About 10 years ago, I was cleaning out the junk drawer in my kitchen, you know, the one where you keep expired coupons, random screws, and a couple of old batteries that you swear you're going to recycle someday. I pulled out a dusty plastic jar crammed with pennies. I thought, I'll just dump these at the coin machine. But something told me to take a look. So I sat there for hours, sorting through them like an amateur pirate. My back hurt, my eyes were going blurry, and my wife thought I'd finally lost my mind. Then, lo and behold, I spotted a 1991 penny with no mint mark that looked especially crisp. My heart started racing. I ran to the computer and started comparing photos online. For about 5 minutes, I was convinced I was a millionaire. Turns out, mine was in decent shape, but nowhere near MS-70. Still, that thrill, that feeling that maybe, just maybe, I'd stumbled onto something life-changing, was absolutely worth the time. And here's the lesson. You never know what's hiding right under your nose. Alright, let's talk a little more about how you can tell if your 1991 no mint mark Lincoln penny is special. Inspect the surface. If it looks scratched up, has dull spots, or shows signs of circulation, it's probably worth a penny or two. Maybe enough for some gum. Look for die characteristics. The $1 million penny is famous for its strong strike and clean details. Lincoln's hair should be sharply defined. The lettering should look crisp enough to slice bread. Get it professionally graded. If you think you've got something exceptional, send it to a reputable grading service. PCGS and NGC are the big names. They'll give you an official grade, and that's what collectors look for. Now, I know some of you are thinking, that sounds like a lot of work for a penny. But remember, that little coin could be worth more than most people's entire retirement fund. Let's do a little imaginary scenario, just for fun. Imagine you're at the grocery store. The cashier gives you 9 cents change. You look down and see a shiny 1991 penny staring back at you. You bring it home, shrug, and toss it in a jar. Years later, you find it again, get it graded, and find out it's worth $1.90 million. Suddenly, you're the person on the news, telling reporters how a single penny changed your life. It sounds crazy, but it's real. This is why coin hunting is part hobby, part treasure hunt, and let's not forget the bragging rights. Imagine telling your brother-in-law, the one who always brags about his golf game, hey, remember that old jar of pennies you said was junk? Turns out it bought me a beach house. I can already hear the collective jaw drop. So, to wrap this up, let's recap the golden nuggets you need to remember. The 1991 no mint mark Lincoln penny in perfect MS-70 condition is worth up to $1.9 million. This isn't just a myth or a tall tale. This is a real, documented value that serious collectors have paid. Start by checking every 1991 penny you come across. Use a magnifying glass, look for strong luster, sharp details, and absolutely no damage. And if you think you might have a gem, don't be shy. Get it graded by the pros. Before you go, here's one last little nudge from me to you. Take a moment to look around your house. Check the coin jars, the old piggy banks, the dusty corners of the glove box. Because you never know when you'll find that one penny that changes everything. If you enjoyed this video and you want more stories about coins that could pay off your mortgage, buy you a cabin in the mountains, or just make you the coolest person at the next family barbecue, don't forget to hit that subscribe button, tap the bell so you'll get notified whenever we drop more tips and strategies on coins worth money. You ever reach into your pocket, pull out a penny, and think, well, this little guy is basically worthless? Well, hold on to your seat because that tiny copper coin might just be worth a cool $1 million. That's right, $1 million. Today, we're diving deep into the 1980 no mint mark Lincoln penny. It's hiding in plain sight, quietly passing hands at gas stations and grocery stores, just waiting for someone sharp-eyed like you to rescue it. I promise, by the end of this video, you'll never look at a penny the same way again. So grab your coin jars, dust off that old coffee tin full of change, and let's find out why this little brown circle can change your life. Stick around, because I'm going to share not only what makes this penny so valuable, but also a hilarious story about how I almost accidentally tipped a waiter with a rare coin. First, let's set the scene. In 1980, bell-bottoms were still limping along in fashion, the Rubik's Cube was the hottest craze, and gas was less than $1 a gallon. Meanwhile, the US Mint was churning out Lincoln cents by the billions, literally billions with a B. The no mint mark means it was struck in Philadelphia. Now, most people think all Philly pennies are the same. And for the most part, they are. But a tiny fraction, a teeny tiny fraction, were minted with certain flaws, high-grade conditions, or special characteristics that send collectors into a frenzy. Why would anyone pay $1 million for something that normally buys, well, nothing? If your penny looks like it just popped out of the mint yesterday, shiny, crisp, no scratches, that's called mint state. Collectors love pristine coins. Some 1980 pennies were struck off-center, with doubled dies, or with other fascinating errors that make them unique. Think of them as the misfit toys of coin collecting. Everyone wants the oddball. Here's a fun fact: 1980 was still the era of copper pennies, before the 1982 switch to mostly zinc. Copper content alone makes them more collectible, and when paired with perfect condition, value skyrockets. A penny graded MS67 red by a major grading service like PCGS or NGC is an absolute unicorn. That's the penny that can cross the seven-figure threshold. And now, let me tell you about the time I almost gave away a fortune. A few years back, I was at this diner I used to frequent every Saturday morning, the kind of place where they refill your coffee before you even ask. I'd just gotten into coin collecting, and I was so excited I'd carry my finds around in my pocket. One day, I pulled out some change to tip my server. Let's call him Dave, because he looked exactly like a Dave, and he picks up this super shiny penny, holds it to the light, and says, "Wow, this looks brand new." I thought, it's a penny, and shrugged. But something made me snatch it back, like my instincts were screaming at me, "Don't do it." Later that night, I put it under my magnifier. Lo and behold, it was a 1980 no-mint Mark Lincoln penny in almost flawless condition. I sent it in for grading. It came back MS67 red. A dealer offered me a ridiculous sum. Always check your change. And never underestimate the power of dumb luck. Lincoln's hair should be crisp, the date should be clean, no smudges or doubling. The fields, the flat parts, should be free of scratches. Check for doubling on Liberty or the date. Weigh it. A genuine copper penny weighs about 3.11 grams. If it's a different weight, that could mean something special or something fishy. Compare it to graded examples online. Send it for professional grading if it looks promising. Remember, it costs money to have coins graded, so only do it if you truly think you've got something exceptional. Let's talk dollars and cents. Right now, in 2025, a top-graded 1980 no-mint Mark Lincoln penny can fetch upwards of $1 million at auction. That's not a made-up number. It's real, verified, documented. Even pennies with less than perfect grades can be worth hundreds or thousands. So even if you don't have the Holy Grail, you could still have a nice payday. Values are climbing. As more people realize how rare these coins are in pristine condition, competition heats up. Think of it like vintage baseball cards or classic cars. The supply doesn't increase, but demand sure does. Get it authenticated and graded. Don't clean it ever. Collectors want originality. Talk to multiple dealers and auction houses. Consider big auction houses like Heritage or Stacksbowers. Set a reserve price to protect your investment. And finally, if you do hit the jackpot, treat yourself to something nice. Just maybe don't tip your waiter with $1 million coin. 1943 copper penny, 1955 double die, 1969 double die, 1972 double die, 1982 small date copper, 1992 close AM. Each of these can fetch serious money if you're lucky enough to find one. Part 8. Coin collecting as a hobby and investment. I know some folks think coin collecting is just for retirees or people with too much time on their hands. But the truth is, it's one of the most accessible hobbies out there. It combines history, art, and a little bit of gambling. You never know if the next penny you find will be worth $1 million or exactly 1 cent. Today, we learned that the humble 1980 no-mint Mark Lincoln penny can be worth a staggering $1 million if it's in pristine condition. We talked about what to look for, how to check your change, and how to avoid tipping your server with a small fortune. Remember, knowledge is your best tool. The more you learn about coins, the more likely you are to spot that hidden gem. And if you're sitting there thinking, "Man, this sounds fun, I want more tips, more stories, and more chances to strike it rich," then you're in the right place. Go ahead and hit that subscribe button. Seriously, smash it like you're checking the bottom of a penny jar. Turn on notifications so you never miss a video about coins worth big money, hidden treasures, and strategies to build real wealth 1 penny at a time. If you found this video helpful or entertaining, give it a thumbs up and share it with a friend who could use a little inspiration, or maybe just to laugh at my near disaster in that diner. Hey there, folks. Let me ask you something. Have you ever pulled a penny out of your change jar and thought, well, this little copper guy is only worth a cent? What if I told you that in 1964, a humble little penny rolled off the mint, no fancy mint mark, no special treatment, and now that same penny could be worth a jaw-dropping $1.1 million? That's right. A single cent could buy you a luxury condo, a yacht, and probably a year's supply of nachos. In this video, we're going deep into the world of the 1964 no mint mark Lincoln penny. We'll talk about what makes it so special, why collectors are throwing money at it like it's the last donut in the box, and how you can check your own coins to see if you're secretly sitting on a fortune. So grab your magnifying glass, your old coffee can of coins, and maybe a cup of coffee. This is going to be a fun ride. Let's start with a little backstory, because every good coin deserves one. In 1964, the United States was humming along. The Beatles were taking over America, cars were growing tailfins, and the Lincoln penny was still made mostly of copper. The Philadelphia Mint cranked out billions of these pennies, and most people didn't think twice about them, but here's the twist. Not every 1964 penny was created equal. Some of them had tiny, almost invisible differences that, decades later, made collectors lose their minds. You see, in coin collecting, condition is everything. A penny that's been rattling around in a sock drawer for 50 years is probably worth about, well, a penny. But a pristine example, with a perfect strike, no scratches, and a beautiful, original luster, can be worth more than a fancy sports car. A few years ago, I was visiting my Uncle Bob. Uncle Bob is one of those guys who never throws anything away. He still has cereal boxes from the 1980s and receipts from when gas was under $1. So naturally, he had a giant mason jar full of pennies. One afternoon, I decided to kill some time and sort through them. At first, it was just something to do while I waited for the pizza to arrive. But then I noticed something, a 1964 penny that looked unusually sharp and clean. No mint mark, beautiful copper sheen, hardly any wear. I held it up to the light like I was Indiana Jones inspecting some ancient artifact. And I'm telling you, my heart skipped a beat. That penny turned out to be worth maybe $5, but it lit a fire under me to learn everything I could about coins, and that's why I'm here today, to help you avoid missing the real treasure. Let's talk specifics. Collectors love what's called mint state. That means the penny looks almost exactly the way it did the day it was struck. No scratches, no discoloration, no nicks on the edges. Basically, it looks like it just teleported here from 1964. If your penny is in mint state 67 or higher, that's where the real money starts to roll in. Some 1964 pennies have doubled dies. That means the die that struck the coin shifted ever so slightly, creating a doubling effect on the date or letters. If you see that doubling, congratulations. You might have something worth thousands. Over time, copper tarnishes. But if your penny has been kept safe from air and moisture, it could still have a rich, shiny glow that collectors love. Now, let's have a little reality check. Not every 1964 penny is a $1 million superstar. Most are worth just a few cents. But the ones that are graded, authenticated, and preserved in incredible condition, well, those are the coins you see selling for six figures or more at auctions. For example, a stunning 1964 no mint mark Lincoln penny graded MS-67 read by PCG is sold for over $1.1 million in a private sale. That's the same as buying a small mansion or 10 very large pickup trucks. Let's pause for a second and imagine this. You walk into a coin shop with a Ziploc bag of old pennies. The dealer picks one up, studies it under a microscope, and looks at you like you just handed him the Holy Grail. A week later, you're on the news, smiling like you won the lottery. It sounds like a fantasy, but for a few lucky folks, it's real. Many people stashed coins in jars or old cans decades ago, and those coins often sat undisturbed, staying in beautiful shape. If you have a relative who collected coins or just hated spending pennies, go pay them a visit. You never know what you'll find. A good jeweler's loupe is the secret weapon of every serious collector. Tiny details, like doubling, die cracks, or other mint errors, are impossible to see with the naked eye. You don't have to be a professional grader, but understanding the difference between fine, extremely fine, and mint state can save you from selling a valuable penny for a fraction of its worth. If you think you've got a high-grade 1964 penny, don't throw it back in your change jar. Put it in a coin flip or protective holder. The fewer fingerprints and scratches, the more it's worth. Let's circle back to my Uncle Bob for a moment. After my visit, he got inspired and spent a whole weekend sorting through his pennies. He didn't find a $1 million coin either, but he did discover a few wheat pennies from the 1920s worth about $20 each. He ended up taking me out to dinner to celebrate, so in a way, that jar of pennies did pay off. In 1964, the US Mint made over 6.4 billion Lincoln pennies. That's billion, with a B. But only a tiny fraction have survived in perfect condition. That's why collectors pay insane money for the best examples. If you're wondering why they didn't have a mint mark, it's because pennies struck in Philadelphia back then usually didn't include one. So if you see a blank space below the date, don't panic. That's normal. What matters most is the condition and any rare error that sets your penny apart. Bright red copper is best, especially on Liberty and the date. If you find a coin that checks all 5 boxes, you're going to want to have it authenticated and graded. That's the only way collectors will pay top dollar. Alright, my fellow treasure hunters, we've covered a lot of ground today. We talked about the humble 1964 no-mint mark Lincoln penny, the little copper disc that could be worth over $1 million if you're lucky enough to have the right one. We covered the basics of what to look for, why condition matters, how to spot valuable varieties, and how to protect your finds so they don't lose value. If you take nothing else away from this video, remember this: the next time you're tempted to toss a penny in the tip jar, maybe give it a second look first. You never know when you're holding a slice of American history worth more than your house. I hope you enjoyed this little adventure into the world of rare coins. If you did, do me a favor. Hit that subscribe button and ring the bell so you never miss a video full of tips, stories, and strategies to turn pocket change into life-changing money. And hey, while you're at it, leave a comment below telling me about the oldest or weirdest coin you've ever found. I love hearing your stories. What if I told you that one little copper coin hiding in your sock drawer could be worth more than a Lamborghini, a down payment on your dream home, and maybe a couple of exotic vacations thrown in for good measure? Well, buckle up, because today, we're talking about the 1962 D Lincoln penny. Yes, that humble little penny with Abraham Lincoln's serious face, and how some of them are raking in over $1.2 million on the collector's market. You heard me right. A penny worth $1 million. That's the kind of thing that makes you want to check between your couch cushions, your car's cup holders, and every old jar of spare change you've ever stashed away. Stick around, because in this video, I'm going to break down exactly why this penny is so valuable, what makes it special, how you can spot one, and how to avoid getting scammed by counterfeits. I'll also share a little story about the time I almost threw away a coin collection that was worth more than my yearly salary. Yep, that actually happened. And if you're thinking this sounds like a get-rich-quick fantasy, trust me, it's real and it could happen to you. So grab a cup of coffee, settle in, and let's go on this numismatic adventure together. Let's start by getting familiar with our star of the show, the 1962 D Lincoln penny. The D stands for the Denver Mint, where these coins were struck. The Denver Mint was churning out billions of pennies in the early 60s, so you might be wondering, what makes this one so valuable? Out of the millions and millions produced, a tiny fraction came off the press with extremely rare errors and special characteristics that collectors absolutely go nuts for. Off-center strikes, where the design is shifted dramatically, bizarre planchet errors, where the metal blank was flawed, full, crisp luster, and nowhere graded MS67 or higher. And when you get one that ticks all those boxes, you're looking at 6 or 7 figures. And now, let's break this down further. Only a handful of these error coins were minted and survived in pristine condition. Collectors love Lincoln cents. Some have been collecting for decades and are willing to pay a premium for a flawless example. Mint state coins, especially those graded MS67, MS68, are ultra rare. One tiny scratch can slash the value by thousands. 1962 was right in the middle of a cultural and economic boom in America, so coins from this era have nostalgic value. I know what you're thinking, come on, how can I tell if my 1962 D penny is the golden ticket? Great question. Let's walk through that step by step. Use a magnifying glass and look closely at Lincoln's face and the word Liberty. If they look like they've been stamped twice, kind of a ghostly double image, you might have a double die error. Make sure the D is clearly defined and not repunched. Repunched mint marks are another variety collectors love. Tilt the coin under good light. Does it still have that beautiful mint glow? The shinier, the better. In nicks, scratches, and dents lower the value dramatically. You want crisp edges and minimal contact marks. If you think you've got something special, don't try to clean it, just send it to a reputable grading service like PCGS or NGC. A professional certification is the only way to confirm you have a high-value coin. And now, let me tell you a little story so you can see how easy it is to overlook these treasures. A few years ago, I was cleaning out my grandfather's old cigar box. You know, the kind that smells like dust and nostalgia. Inside were dozens of old pennies, some buffalo nickels, and a couple of wheat cents. I almost tossed the whole pile into a coin counting machine at the grocery store, but something made me stop. Maybe it was all those episodes of Antiques Roadshow I'd binge watched. I decided to look up a few dates online. That's when I realized one of those pennies was a rare double die 1955 Lincoln cent worth over $10,000. Imagine if I just poured that into a machine. I'd have gotten a measly 38 cents in return. So believe me when I say, it pays, literally, to look carefully. But that's what makes this hobby so exciting. There's a little bit of a lottery ticket feeling in every coin. If you've checked your pennies and found a possible winner, here are a few steps to cash in safely. Always get the coin authenticated and graded by professionals. Cleaning damages the surface and can destroy the value. Get multiple offers from reputable dealers or auction houses. A big auction can stir up bidding wars that drive the price sky high, and if you're wondering whether it's worth the trouble, remember, one tiny cent could be worth more than your car, your student loans, and your kitchen renovation combined. Coin collecting isn't just about the money. It's about the thrill of discovery. It's about holding a little piece of history in your hand. It's about that adrenaline rush when you realize you might be staring at something truly rare. So next time you're paying for your morning coffee, glance at your change. You never know when Lady Luck might smile at you. The 1962 D Lincoln penny is one of the most fascinating modern coins out there. With the right combination of errors, pristine condition, and historical charm, it can be worth over $1.20 million. You don't have to be a professional numismatist to find one, you just have to be curious, patient, and willing to look a little closer at the coins you've been ignoring for years. If you enjoyed this video and want more tips on coins that could be hiding fortunes in plain sight, hit that subscribe button. I'm always sharing insider strategies, collector secrets, and stories to help you turn pocket change into real wealth. And if you've got your own tale about discovering a valuable coin or a time you accidentally spent one, drop it in the comments. I'd love to hear about it. Thanks for hanging out with me today. Now go check those pennies, and maybe, just maybe, your next cup of coffee will be paid for by $1 million coin, where pocket change can transform into pure treasure. Let me ask you a question. When was the last time you actually looked at a penny before dropping it in a tip jar or tossing it into the couch cushions? You might want to pay a little more attention from now on, because today we're talking about a little copper coin that's turning heads and padding wallets, the 1970 D Lincoln penny. This humble little penny has fetched up to $1.4 million on the market. Yep, you heard me right. $1.4 million. So before you start thinking your old pennies are worthless, grab yourself a cup of coffee, sit back, and let's dive into why this coin has folks digging through jars, junk drawers, and their grandma's cookie tins. Alright, let's kick this off with a bit of background so you don't think I'm making this up after too much late night TV. The 1970 D penny was struck in Denver. The D mint mark is your little clue. It came out of the Mile High City. Now, most of these pennies look pretty standard. You've got Abraham Lincoln looking stoic on the front and the Lincoln Memorial on the back, but here's the kicker. Some of these coins came out with peculiar quirks, double dies, strange minting errors, and surfaces that make coin collectors drool like they just spotted a steak dinner. And now, rarity in coin collecting is like finding out your boring old uncle is secretly a rock star. No one expects it. But when you discover it, suddenly everyone wants a piece of the action. Some 1970 D pennies are known for dramatic doubling, especially on the date and lettering. The most desirable examples show strong doubling that you can see without a magnifying glass, which is a big deal because most doubled dies require an eagle eye. Then there's the condition. A penny in pristine, uncirculated shape is worth a fortune because most of these coins were handled roughly, tossed into pockets, rubbed against keys, and spent on bubblegum. If you somehow find one that still looks fresh out of the mint, you could be sitting on 6 or even 7 figures. To put it in perspective, in a major auction not long ago, one of these 1970 D Lincoln pennies sold for a mind-blowing $1.4 million. Imagine flipping a penny onto a counter and realizing you just dropped a fortune. Now, let me tell you a little story. A few years ago, I was cleaning out my late uncle's garage. He was a big collector of just about everything: baseball cards, comic books, you name it. But buried in an old Folgers coffee can was a mountain of pennies. I almost left them there, thinking they were nothing but loose change. But I remembered reading about rare pennies. So I started sifting through them one by one, getting copper dust all over my jeans. After an hour, I spotted a 1970 D. My heart did a little cha-cha. I pulled out my magnifying glass, and sure enough, there was a little doubling on the date. Now, mine didn't end up being worth millions, more like a few $100, but let me tell you, that feeling of discovery is unbeatable. You get hooked. You start looking everywhere: your car, your kitchen drawers, even the bottom of the laundry hamper. You'll never look at a penny the same way again. Alright, you might be wondering, how can I tell if my penny is worth more than the gum it could buy? Second, look closely for doubling, especially on the date in Liberty. The stronger and clearer the doubling, the better. Third, check the condition. Is it shiny and crisp? Does it look like it's never been touched by human hands? That's good. A fourth, consider getting it graded by a professional coin grading service. They'll slap it into a protective holder and give it an official rating that can dramatically increase your payout. You might be scratching your head thinking, who in their right mind would pay over $1 million for a penny? Well, serious collectors and investors see rare coins as pieces of history. Owning one is like owning the Mona Lisa of American currency. Plus, there's something about the thrill of the hunt. It's part treasure hunt, part bragging rights. It's a heck of a lot more fun than buying another boring stock you can't hold in your hand. Coin collecting does funny things to people. You'll catch yourself saying things like, "Oh, this is only worth $3,000, and you'll say it with disappointment. Where you'll be out to dinner and your brain is still replaying that moment you spotted a double die under the kitchen light. It gets in your head, in a good way. My spouse started calling me the penny whisperer after I spent a whole weekend squinting at coins. Let's just say you find out real fast who your patient friends are. If you're feeling inspired to get off the couch and start hunting for these hidden gems, here's what you do. First, raid your piggy banks, junk drawers, and old jars. A second, grab a magnifying glass or a jeweler's loupe. A third, be patient. You might have to look through thousands before you find a winner. A fourth, consider visiting local coin shops or shows. You'd be surprised how often rare coins end up mixed in with common ones. Finally, stay curious. The more you learn about mint marks, errors, and grading, the more likely you are to spot a valuable penny. Alright, let's wrap this up before you sprint to your change jar. The 1970 Lincoln penny is proof that incredible value can hide in plain sight. It's also proof that even the most ordinary looking objects can hold stories, history, and yes, a small fortune. So, the next time you get a handful of change, don't just stuff it in your pocket. Take a closer look. You might be holding the key to an early retirement or at least a spectacular story. If you enjoyed hanging out and learning about coins that can change your life, do me a favor, hit that subscribe button and ring the notification bell. You'll get first dibs on all my latest videos packed with more tips, hidden coin treasures, and strategies to turn spare change into real wealth. If you find a 1970 penny worth $1 million, promise me you'll remember where you got the idea to look.